I was wrong. Iowa State can win the Big 12 this season, and we just learned a really harsh truth about Avery Johnson and Chris Kleiman. We're so back. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Football's back. 24-21. I was wrong. I'm not afraid to stand up and say that I was incorrect. I thought that Kansas State would get the better of Iowa State 28-24. In the end, they're a touchdown short of that. And all the credit in the world to Matt Campbell and Iowa State. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. But none of the credit in the world to Chris Kleiman and Matt Wells. What was the play calling on those fourth downs? On 4th and 1, and you could argue the spots, and you could argue Dylan Edwards not being there is a massive loss, and it is a big loss. But I thought Iowa State was the better football team today. I watched a game where Iowa State won. I didn't watch a game where Kansas State necessarily gave the game away from a Jimmy's and Joe's standpoint. I thought the X's and O's were not crisp, and that Iowa State was underrated in the trenches. Their trenches last season on the offensive line and defensive line, Iowa State, that is, and they played very crisp against a Kansas State team that goes down 7-0, goes down 14-7, goes down 24, I should say, 24-14. This was a game that Iowa State honestly controlled. And I kept thinking, is this the moment where Kansas State kicks it into gear? But the second I would think that, you get to a 4th and 1, and Matt Wells would say, well, we have Avery Johnson, one of the best running quarterbacks in the country, who's pretty savvy, and now is an older guy. We could put him in the shotgun 7 yards away from the center and have him hand the ball off. We could put him under center and have him hand the ball to a guy who's 4 yards in the backfield. But the first down marker's a yard away. Texas Tech fans have been telling Kansas State fans this was not a good move. I remember when Dave Aranda was on the phone with Matt Wells to bring him to Waco and hired Jake Spavital instead. And I thought if Matt Wells is hired, it is the end of Dave Aranda's career as a Baylor coach. He's not a very good offensive mind. He's not putting Kansas State in a position to win. Iowa State, on the other hand, I told you this week, I didn't think there was a massive disparity in the coaching of this game. I think Matt Campbell and Chris Kleiman are both fairly even. That's thrown out the window. Chris Kleiman won the big one. He beat TCU for the Big 12 championship. But now what? We've lost to Iowa State 3 years in a row if you're a Kansas State fan. And conversely, if you're an Iowa State fan, you now wear the robe of a legit contender year in and year out. That loss to, Miami of Ohio or Ohio in 2023, that's gone. That's the Iowa State of old. And you kind of picked up that season a little bit. Last year, you go to Arlington. People are forgetting this Iowa State team went to Arlington, returned Rocco Becht, went into the portal and got a couple wide receivers, bolstered the offensive line. This was still an offensive line missing 3 key guys from last season. You're missing your best returner and 2 guys who are NFL caliber linemen that are gone out of the program because they graduated. But the O-line, it wasn't perfect by any means whatsoever, but it held serve. It allowed Abu Sama and Carson Hansen to go nuts. I say nuts. Carson Hansen, 16 carries, 71 yards, no touchdowns. Abu Sama's longest carry was 14 yards. This is much different than that snow game he played in 2023 against Kansas State. But the establishment of a 2-headed run game, maybe a 3-headed run game with Rocco Becht, allowed Iowa State to rush for 130 yards against a Kansas State defense that prides itself against the rush. And 130 is not some crazy number, but in a game that was played like this, where it's a hurricane in Dublin, Ireland, that's all it took. For Kansas State, 21 for 30, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns. I can't be mad at Avery Johnson for that, but I wonder, when is he going to be the Heisman contender I was told he's supposed to be? When is Kansas State going to be the perennial team? When is Chris Kleiman going to be the guy that can lead his team to a Big 12 championship year in and year out? And you got to ask questions at Big 12 Media Days. And he's like, well, we keep winning 8 games or 9 games. Sure. But when do you get over the hump? Like TCU has been to a national championship. Arizona State to the college football playoff. Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. Last year, they went 2 out of 4 years. When do you get that as Kansas City? Baylor won the Sugar Bowl under Dave Aranda. That's what the Wildcats are missing. Where is Chris Kleiman going wrong? He's a great coach, and obviously he's not hot seat. They can still go 11-1, playing the Big 12 championship against Iowa State. But I would walk away from this game as a fan frustrated. I didn't think the officiating was necessarily unfair all the way around. Again, you could argue that that's a bad spot. I mean, you're going to put the game on that? You went 1 for 4 on fourth down. We're going to put the game on that? You could argue, hey, your team, they got 13 first downs. 13 all game. That's not good. 1 for 4 on fourth down. That's not good. 273 passing yards is solid, but only 110 rushing yards against an Iowa State squad that was 90th in the country against the rush last season. What I saw today was an Iowa State team that is much better at the spots they needed to improve on to be a national power, to be legit, and a Kansas State team who just kind of looked the same. Avery Johnson kind of looked the same. I mean, penalties, 6 for 48 yards for Kansas State. Iowa State had 1, 5 yards. That's like a preparation and a coaching thing. I do believe Avery Johnson is the better quarterback, and Rocco Becht was 14 for 28. But he wasn't a Heisman Trophy winner out there. What does it take to put this together? Why did you hire Matt Wells? We're one game in, but that's an indictment. And now Iowa State, who does go into a fairly tough non-conference, South Dakota, they'll beat South Dakota, but that's a top 5 FCS team. You have to go on the road to Jonesboro, Arkansas. Just a tough place to get to. It just sucks to kind of go to. And you've got Iowa, and it's a home game. This is a 4-0 Iowa State team that is top 15 in the country. They displayed today a defense that can help win them a college football playoff game, that can help win them the Big 12 in a league that is crazy and not necessarily designed or built completely on defenses. That's what I saw. And Kansas State is 0-1. You walk away 0-1 in conference play on your year. College football playoff seems really far away now if you are the Wildcats. And that surprised me. I thought that Iowa State would regress going into this year just based on the roster turnover at certain spots. And I thought that Kansas State would improve to the point where they could contend for a Big 12 championship, probably finish in that 3rd or 4th spot in the conference. Instead, Iowa State's legit, and I shouldn't have doubted it. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel's where I went. I put some money on Kansas State. FanDuel's perfect, though. August 26th, it's officially FanDuel Futures Day. Brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions. For just 24 hours, FanDuel's giving you deals on NFL preseason predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take your flyer on the MVP race. Crown your champion in August, the Dallas Cowboys, or parlay your division winner, Dark Horses. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Frustrated if I'm a Kansas State fan, elated, over the moon if I'm rooting for Iowa State. I love the rushing attack. I like the receivers in the tight end room did exactly what they needed to do, and the defense is improved from a defense that I thought was pretty good last year. Those are good signs. This has been It Always Will Be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.